Like, he was doing things that were just badass.
That was one of the coolest moments of my life.
I was really scared, but knowing that Dan had the gun, I did have the rifle, like, we would be okay.
All right, guys, welcome to the show. On the show with me today, I've got Matt Robertson and AJ Kalupa, and I am already regretting not recording for the last 30 minutes because we've been chatting and it's been great conversations. But we actually recorded a lot of the content you're about to hear. We recorded it the other night, but the audio didn't come through like I was hoping. And so we're going to re-record, and I have no problem with that because these guys are awesome and I enjoy talking to them.
That's
so
exactly
thanks
what
for being on the show.
I'm not even mad. Yeah. I was like, man, our first one was so good. It was so fun that we aren't mad that we have to do this again. So
yeah, I'm pumped. I mean, even just texting with you guys, I'm like, I feel like you guys are just my hunting buddies now.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, you know what? That makes for better conversation too. It makes it like, that was our first podcast. And now instead of it like being forced, now it's just natural. We can just talk, just shoot the shit and just have fun.
Yeah, exactly. The AJ, I was telling Matt, he in the follow-up email to schedule this phone call, it says any additional information that will help me prepare for the podcast. And he just put the Bears. And and then when I first got on with him, in the background, he had a big Bears flag. And I was like, why did I have this guy back on the show? I was like, I should not have told them we're rescheduling. I don't need to talk to this guy anymore.
Dude, I don't know how he does it, but I don't know how I do it. And I'm the one that admits I'm a Chicago Bear fan. So
yeah, I mean, if I was from Chicago, I would claim the Bulls and that's it. And I wouldn't even claim today's Bulls. I'd still claim the 90s Bulls.
90s Bulls for sure. But Chicago is so blue collar, and it's such a, as much of it as you may think, yeah, like the Bulls had 6 championship rings there. The Blackhawks have won a few Stanley Cups. The Cubs finally did it. White Sox suck. But that is a Chicago Bear town through and through. Like, they love the Chicago Bears more than they love anything else. And I don't know. When I grew up, it was you either like the Chicago Bears, Chicago Bulls, Cubs, or you don't like sports.
Well, I think the mayor there is still Mike Ditka, isn't it? Like, they just said he's the mayor forever.
Oh yeah, Hurricane Mike, absolutely.
Hurricane Mike. Oh man, I love like the blind following of sports when people are just so like, tunnel vision on their team. I give Packer fans about it a hard time all the time because they're like, oh, this is our year, we're going to go back to the Super Bowl. And I'm like, you have nothing to base that on. I'm a realistic Packer fan. I know that we suck sometimes. We're not always good. We're always decent, but we're not always good. Anyways,
you're always top tier.
This is not a sports podcast. This is a hunting podcast.
No, absolutely.
But we could talk about bear hunting.
Absolutely.
There you go.
I hear you've done that, haven't you? Or you're going to?
I hope to at some point. The problem with bear hunting, like if I were to go for a grizzly, is you have to have a guide for it, and it's so expensive. Like, you can't just go and grizzly hunt. You can black bear hunt all you want, but once you get into grizzly hunting, I think even the unguided trips where they basically just drop you off in an area and
those would be sweet.
It's unguided. It's like $13,000 just for the unguided trip. And I just don't feel like paying that. So I think what I'm going to do, the guy I'm going up with in August, he's looking at buying a duplex up there. And he wants my wife and I to live in one side of it and renovate the other side. And then we'll switch and live in the side that's renovated and renovate the one that we were living in. And if we do that, what I might do is just stay up there for like 6 months and do it, because then I think I can get resident tags and I won't have to have a guide at that point.
Ooh.
So that's a conversation we're going to have. We're going to actually stay in the duplex that we're looking at buying, or he's looking at buying for the first 3 days of our trip. So I'm kind of pumped about that.
Dude, that would be unreal. Could you imagine? You could wake up and go salmon fishing. You could go house fishing. You could go shoot a bear. You could shoot a goat. You could shoot a moose.
Well, and it's It's right down the street from the place that we stayed last time we were there, and we could see the ocean. And you'd wake up and you'd walk out on the front porch and you'd hear like
Whales.
and it sounded like a whale was right next to you. It's so loud. I mean, when they blow and you look and you're looking and looking, and it'll be like a half mile away, but it's so loud that it sounds like it's right next to you. We had I'm trying to remember what kind of whale it was now. I think it was a gray whale. Those aren't the huge ones, but they're still pretty big. But anyways, it came up and was smacking its tail on the water right next to our boat, like less than 60 yards away. We saw sea lions and seals and what are they called? Puffins. Those ducks.
Oh yeah.
With
like
the orange face. Yeah, it's like a toucan mixed with a duck. So many cool things. So yeah. Hopefully at some point I'll be up there, and waterfowl hunting there would be so sweet.
Oh my gosh. I have a good friend that I think it was a couple of years ago. Maybe it wasn't this last fall, it was the fall before. Matt Dahlstrom went up to he's done some stuff with Fouled Reality guys, if you know who Fouled Reality is.
Oh yeah.
They did a few hunts up there and they killed Brant. He said the duck hunting was just unreal.
Oh yeah. I mean, the flats up there, like I mean, all over Alaska. You think Alaska is just like huge mountains, but there is so many river basins that are miles wide, and it's just like a whitetail mecca. And just it's untouched. Flat. Like nobody, some of these birds probably never see people.
No.
Yeah,
no, probably not.
Hopefully one of these years I'll do that. And then the other thing I want to do, have you seen the birds that live on the bluffs? I don't remember if it was on National Geographic or what, but I saw an Inuit tribe up there, and they would go hang out on these cliff edges, and they made these poles with like super long like pine saplings, and then they had nets on the end of them, and these birds would be flying because they nest on the bluffs, and they just swoop them out of the air with the nets. Yeah. And then they make these caches of them, and they don't put them in a freezer or anything. They basically bury them under rocks, and they'll come back all throughout the year and like pull them out and eat them.
Yikes.
I wouldn't do that part of it, but I would definitely try to catch them with a net.
Yeah. They're like, oh, how did Dan die? Yeah, he fell off a cliff trying to catch a bird in the net.
He thought if he had enough birds in the net that they would carry him away, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
Well, let's switch gears a little bit. Why don't we talk about this? Why don't we talk about your guide service? Because I know we chatted about that in our first conversation. But tell me about that. How'd you guys get into that? And what are you looking forward to most with it?
Well, we AJ and I kind of kicked around the idea back in
like January.
I was working for a guide service at the time. I wasn't really happy with it. And I have a few friends in the industry that were also looking as well. And it just kind of came over beers, and he's like, hey, why don't we do this? It's like, yeah, I don't know, man. It's a lot of work.
It was just it was just kind of a drinking idea. We were just talking about it.
You're just sitting there drinking, just shooting it, and it's like, you just word vomit.
Yeah, it's only official if you have the napkin that you wrote the name of the outfitter on, like framed down your wall.
Absolutely, right. That type of conversation. And I was gearing up to head down to Arkansas. It was actually that weekend, and I went down there. Just confirmed the idea that I wasn't happy with the outfitter that I was with. And I came back, and one of the other guys that was working at that outfitter with me had said the same thing. He and I both kind of were done with it after that trip. And I called AJ and I said, hey man, Troy's in. Like, do you think we can do this? Like, if we're going to do this, though, we're going to go,
we got to do it.
We're going to go both feet in. We're not doing this half-ass. And he goes, all right, let's do it. So,
it leapfrogged. It just kind of happened on its own. It was like a river just flowing. It just, everything started happening. And Matt's one hell of a businessman. So he just took off with it. And, luckily both of our jobs, his more than mine, our day jobs, allow for some extra time to be, to use to pay attention to the idea of it. And I already had a kind of a following already. So we just kind of took the name that I had and branched off of it. And it just, one thing led to another, and holy crap, now we're sitting here like,
sold out our first bunch of hats.
Oh.
And I mean, it may not seem that exciting to some, but I mean, for us, like,
Everything that we have in the works is insane. Just
yeah.
even the opportunities has been huge.
I mean, we worked it out to where we got hooked up with a duck club down in Arkansas.
Yeah, shout out for him.
Yeah, Kevin O'Sullivan at O'Sullivan Duck Club. We hooked up a deal with them to where he's going to allow us to, or he's going to provide the lodging and the meals.
Nice.
For a snow goose package down in Arkansas. We went down there in February. It was tough. We went down there with a skeleton crew. That was kind of our, it was me, a couple guys that work with us. It's Troy and Chance and Clay, and also Luis Barrick. He's a pretty notarized photographer, videographer. And we went down there kind of on a prove it type deal to ourselves, not to anybody else, just to prove that we could do this. And a lot of guys down there, I don't know, they just kind of sit in the same field and they might change their spread here and there. We changed our spread every day. We tried A-frames. We tried laying in the whites. We tried laying on the edge. We tried A-frames on the edge, A-frames in the middle. And we were picking up with, I mean, I would say with three of us, we were picking up 2,000 plus decoys. You get 2 separate e-collars, you got 5 A-frames that we were hunting out of, or you have 10 to 11, 12 backboards. Like, not that that's a lot to pick up, but I mean, it doesn't sound like it, but when you're doing it and you're scouting on top of it,
Holy cow.
And we were making deals for the guys that were with us. So we went through that.
Hold
trip.
up
It
1
sucked.
second. Give me 1 second. I'm going to try to show you this thing. I just looked down and there's like a mini tarantula walking across my.
Dude, I don't do spiders.
Look at this.
Oh,
you see that thing? Oh, I saw like a shadow moving out of the corner of my eye, and I was just like, oh, it's just my eyes. Like, I'm focusing here. It's messing with me. And then I look down, and it's just like coming at me. So I'm gonna have to deal with this thing really quick.
Dude, that's gross.
Oh man. Oh, dude. Here we go.
Do it.
This is gonna make for some interesting audio. Oh, dude, smoked him. That's when
With
I
a
need one of those
sandal?
bug assaults.
I'm gonna send you one, dude.
Oh, dude,
I
I need
had
one
so much
so
fun.
bad.
I had a friend over the other night, and we were in the garage for like 2.5 hours, just smoking bugs with that thing.
Oh yeah.
It's entirely too much fun.
Oh, dude, sorry, man. I'm like, I got the creeps right now. My whole body's
I
got
don't
like
do
goosebumps.
spiders.
Me either.
I don't do
I hate
spiders.
I hate spiders and I hate snakes. Forget
Call
it
me a
on both of
puss,
them.
dude, but I don't do spiders.
Nope.
That was fucking fun. You can't make that shit up.
No.
Dude, I've had spiders in my house before. I have never had a spider that size anywhere. I mean, they
I've never
probably
even
have
seen
been
a
in
spider that size.
Dude,
Not
that
a
thing
wild-
for real, it
not
was
in
this
the-
big around. I mean, like, and furry legs.
Gross.
Oh,
Disgusting.
all right.
That's disgusting.
We're
Well,
back
no,
to
but
it.
like I was saying, we kind of just wanted to go down there on a prove it deal, to prove it to ourselves. Each and every one of us that was down there busted their behind. It was unreal to watch. And after that trip, I called him on my way home and I said, we have the right guys for this for sure. Kind of like you said, it was kind of like each thing kind of just, it was a step above what what we were looking for. And I don't know, it's motivating. It's
Yeah.
cool, and now, we're going to hook up with our friends at Capable Partners in Minnesota, up at Game Fair. That's a group of gentlemen that are all disabled. They love to hunt. They love to fish. And, they do hunts, they do duck hunts, and they are snipers. I mean, these guys are paralyzed from the belly button down or from the tits down. And I'm watching them shoot mallard ducks, going crossing right to left and shoot them at 35 yards stone dead and
That's
still running a
awesome.
dog. Yeah. But those guys, they have a booth at Game Fair here in Minnesota. It's kind of a, it's exactly what it is. It's a game fair. It's a fair for outdoorsmen.
It's a big outdoorsman. Fishing, hunting, upland, waterfowl, big game. I mean, everything with the outdoors. It's a huge fair. Dogs,
That's
the big
awesome.
dogs. Actually, out of kennel.
Falconry. Yeah.
If there's
Dang.
anything you want, you should try to make in Minnesota. That'd be one of them.
But I mean,
Man,
we're at
that'd
the
be
point now
sweet.
where we're gonna where we're just going to share a booth with those guys and, you know, be able to sell some swag and hopefully book some hunts. But I mean, as far as the guide service goes, this stuff is taking off quite a bit, and we're super, super excited about it. We got a big year coming ahead for sure. Running hunts in Minnesota, South Dakota, Southeast Missouri for specklebelly hunts. We're working on that. It's not for sure yet, but the Arkansas snow goose package and just the Arkansas snows in itself is exciting. And to be hooked up with a duck club that is of that caliber is really, I guess it shows how far we've come, you know, leaps and bounds from the start.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I'm pumped for you guys to have a booth at something like that too. Like, speaking of the game fair, when is that?
So it's in August. It's
Okay.
2 weekends. It's August 13th, 14th, and 15th, and then the following weekend. They're only Friday, Saturday, Sundays.
I'm gonna write that down quick, because that sounds like a good time.
Oh, people come from all over the country.
They do. And I mean, you're from Wisconsin. You know that the Minnesota State Fair is huge here, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, with everything that's going on, that didn't happen last year. I mean, we kicked it back and forth. We kicked the tires on it, man. Should we do it? Like, if we have the opportunity? Well, all the booths were sold out, but luckily we have some friends that are willing to help us out. So, I mean, this is going to be the year to do it, because it's going to be the biggest one that they've had, guaranteed.
Yeah. Everybody couldn't make it last year, and so now they're all going to pile in.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Because they can go out and do things now, you know?
I'll send you the link on Instagram right now.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, that'll be cool. I love going to outings like that. I mean, I grew up going to like the great outdoor games and like the DU stuff, like the big outdoor festivals. And
it's the same. It's the same thing as all that.
Yeah.
And then, so a game fair, they also have like calling contests for ducks and geese, you know, so that's really cool. You know, the Josh Miller with Riverstone Kennels and Tom Dokken show up, and they do like training seminars, and you can kind of do like little mini trial runs with your own dogs too. And
that's cool.
Doc jumps at prizes and stuff. It's such a great time.
Yeah, outdoors paradise. And I remember, I don't know if they do it still, probably, but they used to do like gun raffles all the time, and they'd have like hundreds of guns that they raffle off. I remember I watched this one dude. I mean, he probably put in for every gun. I watched him win 4 guns at the gun raffle, and I was like, why didn't I put in? I mean, it was like $20 a ticket, but still, I'm like, you put $200 in, your odds of winning one is pretty good.
Right. I mean, I've been a member of DU, and I've gone to countless DU banquets. I can't say that I've ever won anything at any of those.
No, nothing major like that.
No. Speaking of raffles, we were kicking around the idea of maybe raffling off a snow goose hunt down at Game Fair as well.
That'd be sweet.
So, yeah. 3-day package for 2 people. I mean, we still got to obviously look into it and kind of price out what a per ticket price would be. But
oh yeah. Yeah, that'd be awesome. I mean,
well.
I see people making money, especially on social media, with that stuff all the time. They're like, hey, win this new boat and a truck to pull it. All you have to do, you know, like every dollar spent on our website gets an entry. I'm like, dude, just to sell some t-shirts and hats, you could probably make a killing just doing little raffles like that here and there.
Oh yeah. I mean, like I said, I mean, we sold out our first batch of hats in like 2.5 hours. It was unreal.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And speaking of, I just got the new ones in. So they're not these, but you got the new ones in. So that's one of those has got your name on it for sure.
Sweet. I appreciate it. I'm looking at, I talked with my wife yesterday about that, about getting hats and stickers done. That way I could send them to all the guests that come on the podcast. And I think what I'm going to do is, once I have like our home built, we're going to build a big shop house, and I'm going to have a back corner of it is going to be a room that's my podcast studio. But I want to hang like all of the hats of all the podcast guests up on the wall. Like maybe
that'd be cool. That would be really cool.
I mean, I'm going to have a lot of guests on, and they're all going to have, I'm going to be like, hey, do you have a hat company? Okay, never mind. Next guest.
Well, I mean, if you're looking for more people for guests to have on your podcast, I could give you a definite list of people that would probably be interested.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
We can even do one just specifically with Upland. I got we all send tons of people your way.
Yeah, that'd be fun. And if I come up for that game fair, we're going to have to do like a live one in the booth or the tent or something.
Oh, absolutely.
sure.
Bring the family. We got 2 places to stay for free for you. So
Nice. That sounds awesome. Well, hey, talk to me real quick about the dog training portion of what you do, because I know I saw a bunch of videos on the Instagram of you running dogs, and you're not only into waterfowl hunting but upland hunting as well.
right. So we both came from, an obsession with waterfowling, and I worked for an outfitter for a few years, and it did some upland hunts for them, and then I kind of left that place, and that's when Matt and I started this deal. But growing up, it was a huge family tradition for waterfowl hunting. My grandfather had a decoy company, and we still to this day hunt over all of his hand carved cork decoys. And it's something it's like religion for us. Right. And then when my dad was growing up, he wanted to start something on his own and just kind of go teach himself something and learn a sport, in the outdoors that he can just go off and do and self-teach and meet new people and whatnot. And he did that with upland and started, working with some dogs with people that he grew up with and got into it. And then as I grew up into it, I took, a liking to both of them, an obsession to both of them. Yeah. And when I moved out and went on my own, I took it from just upland hunting, and I just took it to the next level, and it just kind of exploded from there. Now I'm no big person in the game by any means, like very, very minimal compared to who's out there. But I started making my own bloodlines here, or we're basing off of some famous bloodlines, and these pointing dogs, they're all English setters, and did some guiding with them, and then field trialing, and then it just one thing leads to another, and now I got a whole string of dogs and travel around the upper Midwest. And
you got one this weekend, don't you?
Yeah, I got a field trial this weekend in Minnesota. Yep, I've been the chairman of this field trial for 4 years now, and it's awesome. It's an obsession. It kind of extends the hunting season, and it's just another tool to add in my belt and see where I can take it.
That's awesome. I know, like for waterfowl dogs, there's different levels of certifications. Like once your dog passes this or that, what does that look like for upland dogs?
So there's many different upland field trial associations, like the versatile hunting dogs, NHS. Well, there's NASTRA, and then there's NAVDA, where there are a lot of versatile hunting dogs, and you hunt tests and things like that are very similar to the waterfowl dog, field trial game and hunt test game. I do more of it's called the Cover Dog Field Trial Association, which is the American Field Trial Association, who oversees it all. And there's 3 levels. You start at puppy, and you go to derby, and then shooting dog, and then it can even expand from there. It's all by age, and you do have to qualify for them. Once you qualify a derby to run in a shooting dog, you can always compete up, but never back. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So you can always compete ahead of yourself as far as age brackets, but you can go into horseback stuff. You can go into all age stuff and national events and things like that. I'm a part of the Minnesota Grouse Dog Association. So we do a bunch of stuff in Minnesota, Wisconsin. Our field trials, we go to neighboring regions and neighboring states, and it's all wild birds. Everything's wild, and they do it. It's an old soul type of game. It when the field trials originated, for this field trial association back, in the early 1900s. I mean, we still do everything pretty much just like that. Judging hasn't changed. I mean, we're turning dogs loose with, nowadays we run, GPS collars on our dogs.
Yep.
We're not allowed to look at the GPS collar. We shut the transmitter off, make sure it connects, and then hand it to the judge. And if you do need your GPS to find your dog, then you take yourself out of the competition. So we're running based off just a bell a dog bell,
Nice.
and in the woods, and it's still done today as it was when it started, which is really cool.
That's so awesome. There's something about like watching a dog work. And
Oh,
it's with
insane.
anything. I mean, whether it's waterfowl, upland. I hunted behind beagles for my first time 2 seasons ago. And I mean, I never thought like rabbit hunting with beagles was going to be anything special, but there's something about just watching a dog like be so
Do its
pumped
job.
up about what it's doing. And I mean, it's something that for generations it was bred to do. And now it actually has the opportunity. And so that'd be cool. I've never upland hunted behind dogs before. And so I want to see that so bad.
You know, every dog that does it is insane. I mean, and no matter what job it is. And every one of them blows my mind. I don't care if it's, you know, German dogs and like shepherds and whatnot. As far as bite work goes, that's incredible. You got your cattle dogs, they're incredible. Waterfall dogs are insane. They all, how they're bred to do it and it's in their blood to do it. It blows my mind every single time, no matter what dog it is.
Yeah.
And I grew up with Chesapeakes actually for waterfall hunting, and I will get back into it when I have the room and time and money, just like we always talk about.
Yeah.
But it's incredible to watch. You know, I still giggle like a schoolgirl when I'm seeing my dogs do good things in the field. It's just, I'd rather actually not even carry a shotgun and have everybody else carry a shotgun, and you know, it's all one big experience for me. So
yeah,
it's a different game. You know, out in North Dakota, I can turn a dog loose and they'll be 500, 600 yards out, and they'll hammer a covey of birds or point a bird, and they're going to stay there until I get there.
that's so cool.
It's
maybe
fun.
that's the trip we need to plan. We'll plan a North Dakota trip, because last time we talked, you guys talked about North Dakota, and now I can't stop thinking about it.
Oh yeah, North Dakota is huge for me. I spend a lot of time out there, whether it's pheasant hunting, sharp-tailed grouse hunting, coyote hunting, waterfowl, walleye fishing. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. It's got it all.
Now I just need to figure out how many days I need to plan to be up there, because
Well,
I'm
the
down
state-
for all of
I
that.
guess if you're gonna do waterfall, it's 2 7-day periods.
Same with upland. So
Yeah.
all the licensing is 2 7-day periods, and you can choose what
Okay.
7-day periods are.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, that'd be a good time. I like hunting new states. I told my wife I want to start doing a deal where it's like I check states off the list. Not that I'll never go back, but I want to hunt something in every state. I just think that would be cool to see how different states operate, and then like the different landscape that you can hunt. Because growing up in Wisconsin, it's all woods. I mean, it's all woods and cornfield that we hunted. And so I didn't know anything but that. And then moving down here to Missouri, it's like you'll have almost a rolling grassland that you just didn't expect to be down here. And then you'll have the mountains, the Ozark Mountains. You still have ag fields and stuff, but big rivers with huge bluffs. And there's something about the adventure of being in a new place and hunting, and then also like the game in that place. So North Dakota is definitely high on my list after our last
Well, the
talk.
thing about traveling is, I mean, even if you're hunting the same game, you know, you're chasing the same game in different states, it can change. It can, you know, hunting, let's just say waterfowl in North Dakota, and then you go to Colorado and hunt, you know, the same species of waterfowl. It can be totally different.
Oh yeah.
And how you attack things and how you go at things, your strategy.
Situations and your strategies change with everything else.
It'd be a huge learning deal. It'd be awesome.
It's a
Yeah.
goal. Like up here for ducks, and you know it all too well from being from Wisconsin. You can shoot mallard ducks and even wood ducks in a dry field all day long.
Yep.
You get on to Arkansas, you're shooting them in the timber, or you're shooting them on a flooded rice field. You're not shooting them in a dry field.
No.
You know, so I'm sure it's been done before, but you don't set up in a rice field that's not flooded to hunt ducks. You just don't do it.
No. And I mean, I learned the difference in waterfowl hunting just moving out to Colorado for that short time. I was on the Front Range of Colorado. I mean, literally a couple miles from the mountains. You could see all the mountain range. And there would be little ponds covered in cattails, And I would go out and do like, I'd do eradication of muskrats for my boss. He had muskrats all over on his ponds and they would tear everything up. And so in the spring, I would go out there and take a couple out for him. Well, I saw cinnamon teal. I've got pictures of cinnamon teal. I've never killed one. It's like top of my list for a bird that I want to shoot.
Me too.
And I've got pictures and videos of them all spring long. They hang out on those ponds and then they're gone come fall. But I never thought near the mountains in Colorado would be a good spot to waterfowl hunt. We hammered geese on this city field. Technically, it wasn't in the city because it was ag land, but it was the first stop from the golf courses and all the city ponds. The geese would just pile in by the thousands, and
They
we
come
would
in
just,
there blind for sure.
oh yeah, I've got a picture on my phone, and it's all the different hunts, and the weather was perfect. The weather, I think, was one of the big factors in why we did so good.
Always.
But it was like almost every other picture, it would be snow on the ground, no snow, then no snow. And we hunted it. I think it was 13 straight hunts, and we got 8-man limits. And out there you can shoot 5. I think in Wisconsin it's only 3 geese right now. I don't remember, but out in Colorado you could shoot 5 geese per person per day, and we would just hammer them.
Minnesota just changed it now this year. We can shoot 5.
That's awesome.
So, and then for the first time ever, they opened a early teal season. I know Wisconsin has it.
Yep.
Wisconsin has, I guess, in my opinion, more blue-winged teal than we do. But it'll be interesting to see how many wood ducks get shot during early teal season this year.
It'll be a lot, man. I don't know. I've never gotten into the teal in Minnesota enough to specifically target them.
I haven't. I mean, I've
Ever.
you kill a handful, but that's, I guess, what everybody's worry kind of was that, and how many ducks it's going to push out of the immediate area before duck season actually opens, you know?
Yep.
We already have a youth season early.
Yep.
For a youth, yeah.
Yep.
Oh man, I've seen all of that. I've been petitioning here. We did a waterfowl. It was like a town hall meeting almost. With the conservation department, and they asked about different season dates and what the splits were that we wanted, because Missouri is broken down into the north, middle, and south zone. And so you can hunt. I mean, it extends the season. You can just drive up to the KC area and hunt super early. And then basically you've extended your season by like almost 60 days that you can hunt. But one thing that I brought up in the meeting was opening up a wood duck season during the teal season, because all the wood ducks get pushed out when the teal take off. And so we don't have it
be a dual season.
Exactly. We don't have great wood duck hunting, at least in the spots that I hunt. There's one spot in particular that we have found them, but for the most part, they're all gone. And then during teal season, we see them all the time. And there's a ton of people that mistakenly shoot wood ducks. I mean, I've seen in guys that I've hunted with, like they'll pull up and blast, and I'm like, stop, wood duck.
Yeah.
And after 2 shots, they're like, oh man, we're glad we didn't hit that. I'm like, yeah, me too. We'd be in a lot of trouble if we got busted doing that. And so I quit taking people out who couldn't identify ducks on their own, because I hate being the one that's like, don't shoot at that, don't shoot. And you know how guys are once they get antsy.
Oh yeah, that's a tough one, because when you're guiding, like, you have to be the one to identify, you know, because you can't, I mean, obviously when you're hunting waterfowl, you are responsible for your own limit.
Yep.
You know, I can't have, if we have 5 clients out, I can't have those 5 clients shooting my 5 geese. I have to take my own.
Yep.
And they have to take their own. But, you know, in a situation like that where, you know, it's why it's always a good practice to maybe stop, just to stop one bird short. I know everybody's they got a hard on for getting a limit, and that's great, but you know, it's better to be safe than be sorry, because all it takes is for something like that to happen, and then your outfit gets a bad name. And that's a fine line to play with. I was hunting with a buddy out in New Richmond, Wisconsin. I think this was like 4 years ago. And we were doing early teal season. And in early teal season there, like, I mean, I'm sure it's going to be the same thing here. You can't shoot until sunlight, sun up, where normally it's a half hour before.
Yep.
Can't shoot until sun up, so that they want you to be identifying what you're shooting, obviously. And my buddy nudged me on the shoulder. He goes, "Hey, look at this flock of wood ducks." And there were these guys that had gone around this bend. They showed up late, and it was like 2 seconds later, just boom, 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 boom. Dude, they killed like 13 wood ducks
during teal season.
Well, during teal season, and we watched them get in their canoe and they paddled. Like, it was immediately after that, because like we had hollered over there, like, those are wood ducks that they just shot, and they backed up and left, and we walked over there and they tried stomping them in the mud.
I've seen way too many instances of that. Like, out growing up in Wisconsin, we would go hunt the Mississippi. So I started out with my uncle and my cousin, who are both phenomenal waterfowl hunters, and they got me into it, and I was hooked. After the first mallard was back flapping like right off the end of my barrel, I was all right, I will forever be a waterfowl hunter. And then we got connected with these twin brothers on the Mississippi, and I remember we would go out with them all the time because it was like an hour away from where I grew up. And so me and my dad would go. They had boats and they'd take us out. Well, we were hunting one day, and it's all like wetland right off the Mississippi, hunters everywhere. I mean, you hear shots all over the place. Well, I see these birds flying in, and I had hunted enough to know that I didn't know what they were. Like, it didn't look like a duck. It didn't look like a goose. It was a cormorant. And all of a sudden these things are flying in a V, and I hear shots off in the distance. And then I hear the whole marsh light up with hunters like, "Don't shoot, those are cormorants." And so everybody stopped shooting at them. Well, on another hunt, I remember looking over, and I was just watching this marsh hawk just flying, and it was hundreds of yards away, just in the distance, about 15, 20 feet above the cattails. And all of a sudden I just see it go poof and fold up. And a couple seconds later I hear, and it was just that delayed sound. And all of a sudden, I mean, you should have heard the hunters going nuts. And within minutes, there's a boat just zipping out of there as fast as it can. And I'm like, dang, man, people just, I don't know if it's like reflex, like all of a sudden they see something and swing and shoot.
Reflexing, that's not an excuse.
Well, I think
I'm not saying it's an excuse at all, but I'm like, how do you mess that up? Like, how do you not identify what you're pulling the trigger on?
Yeah, carelessness. They're ignorant to the identification of the bird. I mean, I think it was 2 years ago here. These guys it was like a 17-year-old kid, and then it was two other younger, like they were minors, 15, 16 years old. I think there was three of them total in the boat, and they killed the two trumpeter swans.
Oh my gosh.
They were goose calling, and they're calling it. So they're like letting everybody that's hunting on that lake know that, hey, we think that these are geese. And everybody's like, those are trumpeter swans. And supposedly the story goes that somebody had screamed out before they shot, and they shot him anyway.
They got caught.
And they got caught. The DNR was at the launch so fast. And I don't know what ended up happening to him, but that's such a big thing with waterfowling is bird identification. And it just seems like it's getting worse and worse every year. I mean, it's in the regulation book. Like, okay,
they make apps for it.
Yeah, they make apps for it. Like, take the time, study it, learn it, do it right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, you got to study it. And then the more you're out there, even if you have to get out and not pull the trigger at all, like just to get out and watch birds and have somebody with you that knows their stuff, because you can identify birds just by their wing flap. Like, once you have been 100%. Out there long enough. My cousin, I remember he had been hunting way more than I was, and I'd go out with him and he'd be like, "Oh man, like, look at those widgeons." And I'm like, "Dude, how can you tell that's what they are? They're hundreds of yards away." And he's like, "I promise they're widgeons. Just watch when they come in. They're going to be widgeons." And they'd come in, and sure enough, they were widgeons. I remember one time these birds came in, and I had been hunting long enough, and I will still debate this all day long. We shoot 3 birds, and I said, I just shot I don't remember what the species were. I think I said, I just shot a mallard, and he's like, well, I just shot a widgeon. And I was like, no, you didn't. And we fought back and forth about it, and they were laying out in the water. Well, I think the current like shifted everything down, because we bet on it, and we bet a lot, like hundreds of dollars on this. And he ended up winning once we went out there. He's like, I promise you, I'm 100%. So luckily he was living with me at the time. So I was just like, I'll just consider that your rent money for a while. I won't make you pay rent for the next month.
When I was growing up, my grandfather, as he was making decoys, he was, every time I went to his house, and I was young, he would have die casts of each duck bill and goose bill, and they're just gray die casts, just the bill alone hanging on the wall. And then he would have black and white pictures of just wings, shapes, and then he'd have colored. And then every time I went over there, I mean,
Don't think he'd quiz
me. I was like, you're not going to eat dinner until you, I mean, it's been so ingrained into me. He would test me every time I'm there.
That's
like,
awesome.
you're not leaving this workshop until you know each duck
starved
bill.
waterfowl identification.
Dude, it's insane. and now it's something I can
Oh, yeah. Pick it
talk
up easier.
waterfowl. It's like second nature to me. And I thought it was just asinine when I was younger. And now I think I'm up and down for it.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy. I can still to this day remember I can just take a picture of a bill they're not even colored, just by the shape, and tell you what duck it is.
That's awesome.
I thank him for it.
You know how often when you're snow goose hunting, because specks and snows, especially in the spring, they mix up together.
Snows, yeah. Like Troy said, we're on your live on TikTok there. And Troy, who said that, is one of our main guys. And specs,
Snows,
lessers,
but
specs during snow season.
Yeah, but specks and snows specifically. I mean,
They do.
You're sitting there and you're like, all right, guys, these are blues. These are blues. They're coming. No, they're specks. Never mind.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Like,
there's a lot of residual.
Yeah, I mean, how many, because of misidentification, how many speckled-bellied geese die during spring snow goose season?
Oh yeah.
Every day there's
Guys that jump shoot. That's another topic, I guess.
I don't do enough different goose hunting. Like, I mean, I've really only hunted for Canadas.
Canada geese.
But I shot my first snow goose last year. But like the difference between specs and blues and snows and all of that, I can tell what a snow is in comparison, but I just don't have enough time like viewing the other birds, and I just haven't had opportunities, so I never put in the work to identify them. But I think in Missouri it's broken down by white fronted geese and dark geese.
Which are speckled-bellied geese, yeah.
Yeah. So I think all the geese would be fun to hunt. I mean, some of the stuff that I've seen, like we did have one speckled belly that came in with Canada's one year when I was out in Colorado, and everyone pulls up and they're like, shoot the speck out back.
Yeah.
And I mean, I had the whole front of the blind to myself that I'm shooting out of, because everyone heard speck and they swung around and we ended up getting it. And it was apparently a really small speckled belly. They're like, oh, this is a juvenile, like didn't have any bars across its front, like just barely.
But it's the point.
Yeah.
It's the point of it, because a couple of years ago, this is pretty much unheard of, but my buddy Logan, Harry, and I, who Logan's a part of our group as well, we were in central Minnesota on duck opener. Or no, it was duck opener.
Yeah, I guess.
And we shot a speck and a snow that morning. Both came in. One group of Canada came in and had one snow goose there. We made sure it fell out of the sky. We weren't letting that thing leave. Care what happened. And then sure enough, the next flock, a group of geese came in, group of honkers, and that one speck was in back-to-back flocks. They were just alone with this flock of Canada geese.
That's
It was
so
unbelievable.
crazy.
It was unbelievable.
They get lost. We shot a speck last year up in
Northern Minnesota. North Central.
well, yeah, north central Minnesota. We shot one. It was unreal. Had bars on it and everything. Good looking.
So did that one we shot. It's
Yeah, I should've
crazy
mounted
the
it,
things
but
that can happen.
my wife ground up the meat and put it in spaghetti instead. And she made the joke and she called it spaghetti.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, that's pretty good.
You're funny.
I'm a huge fan of dad jokes and
Oh, yeah,
just bad
totally.
jokes in general.
And my wife is the queen of dad jokes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Man, I had a thought and now I don't remember. Oh, I was gonna say like what you were just saying. You had one snow and one speck come in. I've never been in a position where I can just like target specific species of birds. Most of the places we go, it's like, man, we'll get a mixed bag limit, however that looks. Like we'll stay within regulations. But I did go on one hunt in central Missouri where we got our 4 mallards for the morning and we had them all by like 8:00. It was me and 2 other guys. And the other 2 guys had shot their other 2 birds. I don't remember what they got, but they were like, dude, what are you going to shoot as your 6th bird? And I said, I'm going to wait for a pintail or a wood duck drake. Like one of those, when they come in, I'm going to blast one. And we sat around for like an hour and a half and we had mallards dumping in front of our blind, like right in our decoys all morning long. And it was, I mean, it took us longer to shoot my last bird than we all limited out on the rest of our birds.
Yeah. Isn't that cool though?
Oh,
That's
it was
the
so
best.
awesome. And I just waited and waited and waited. And I had never shot a pintail at this point. And I was like, sorry, I had shot a pintail hen on the Mississippi once, but I'd never shot a drake. And all of a sudden I see this group of mallards coming in. And one of the last ducks in the group just had a pin sticking off its butt that long.
Big
And I
old
was
sprig.
like, oh, yes. I'm like, this is the one. This is the one. And sure enough, they circled in, landing gear down, and I pulled the trigger and dropped it. And it was like,
Oh, I thought you were about to tell me that you missed.
and then I accidentally shot 3 mallards. No, no,
I
I ended up getting it. And it
was.
was the coolest feeling ever. Like actually isolating a specific species.
Oh, yeah.
And going for that. It was a lot of fun.
Selective waterfall hunting is so much fun. Every single year when we're out shooting, we do a lot of diver hunting in North Dakota, and we'll shoot our limit of bluebills, and then we'll shoot, we'll focus on redheads and canvasbacks. We'll shoot our limit of canvasbacks, and then we'll start picking out shooting only redheads. And just, I mean, I have footage of countless number of birds, big giant flocks of divers coming in right in our face, and then it's just a show at that point.
Yeah.
And you just pick, we filled out every part of our limit per species, and every day, and it's selectively, makes it so much fun. The experience is incredible when you do it.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a specific species of duck or goose that you like to eat the most?
I
To
think
eat the most.
I mean,
Yeah.
Puddle ducks, and if you're talking ducks, puddle ducks and divers do taste different.
Oh yeah.
One's feeding off corn and beans and peas and wheat and whatnot, and one's digging on the bottom of lakes. And in my opinion, people can say, oh, I love mallard and it's the best tasting duck out there. I love whatever. It all comes down to how you cook it. It's all how you serve up the eggs. It really is.
Yeah.
In my opinion, all waterfowl is dark meat. It's dark purpley meat. It can cook. I mean, I've mixed in everything from a day. You got divers, puddle ducks, and geese. All cubed up, and you can't, if you make it all the right way. In my opinion, blends in.
At our house, dude, we eat it with everything.
So
I grind up Canada goose meat, and we make tacos with it. So you would substitute for your ground beef.
Yep.
But I mean, I do mix it with pork so that you actually have some fat in there.
Yeah.
Yep. But we do it with that. She's made meatloaf with it. It's phenomenal. Spaghetti, but
to be honest, you can wrap anything in bacon and make it taste pretty good.
yeah,
That's
you want to do
true.
the bacon jalapeno poppers
At the end of the day.
absolutely. Teal are really good for that though, because they're so small.
Yep.
Perfect size. If you canoe out a jalapeno and put cream cheese on there, slap your teal on there, wrap that bad boy in bacon, throw it on the grill. Boom.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think puddle ducks taste the best. I've heard, so Johnny Morris, do you know who Johnny Morris is? The owner of Bass Pro Shops.
Mm-hmm.
So owner and founder of Bass Pro Shops. Apparently I've heard rumor, because he's here in town. He lives in the same city as I do. I've heard that his favorite duck to shoot and eat is a coot.
Oh, dude, that's been a thing for a long time. My
Favorite
grand,
thing to shoot, absolutely, because it's a new fad. But
no, I know, but oh my gosh, my grandfather grew up on eating. I mean, if you talk to anybody's grandparent that has duck hunted growing up, everybody ate coot. There's a lot of people that eat them. It's actually a really big thing.
Yeah, I've never. I think the green feet kind of mess with me a little bit.
Well,
like, they just look like they're diseased.
They're goofy looking.
The
ivory billed canvasback.
The ivory billed canvasback.
Or mud chicken, mud hen, whatever.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like a muddy,
people eat
like
the
a
shit.
homeless waterfowl.
That's been a thing for a long time, is eating coots.
Yeah. I mean, I had heard of people doing it. I just thought it was like a super backwoods thing, but apparently it's a lot more common than I ever thought. And then another thing that I just found out about, that I didn't find out about it, but I found out my buddy does it actually all the time. He takes his birds, anything that he gets, and he hangs them by the head, and he won't even process the meat until the body basically falls and separates from the head.
Yeah, aging meat is huge.
He did that last year. He had these 2 geese, and the garage smelled so bad every time I was over there, because I actually renovate the campers over on his property. And I would go over there, and it was almost a full month after goose season ended. It was the last 3 geese that we had shot, and he had them hanging in his garage still. And he's like, I promise they're going to be amazing. And so one day while I'm working, he pulled me in the shop. He's like, hey, dude, I'm going to breast these things out, and you're going to get to smell them. And so he did. He opened them up, breasted them out, and he held it up, and he's like, smell that meat. And I smelled it, and it smelled like sweet and nutty, but like a good smell. It wasn't like rotten meat smell. The rest of the bird smelled terrible, but the meat smelled really good. And he's like, it'll be the best waterfowl you've ever had.
It was it?
I didn't try it. He ended up cooking it when I was out of town, and so I didn't get to try it, but I got to smell it at least.
It's a huge thing. We have a really close family friend that we hunt with quite often, yearly. He lives in Alaska, and he does a lot of duck hunting up there, and he hunts everything up there. And he ages everything he shoots. He hangs and ages for weeks in one of his sheds. Yeah, I mean, if it's deer, caribou, all of his
the fat
waterfowl.
behind the eyes on caribou is.
I heard it's like doe. Yeah.
Doe. Yeah.
I dug out the eyeballs. I dug out the eyeballs on my elk that I shot a couple of years ago. And because I had to carry the skull out, and we were packing it out a long ways. And so I was like, I'm taking out I skinned the head and everything right there, left the bottom jaw behind. But I dug the eyes out, and there was that fatty tissue behind the eyeball, but I did not try it. I was like, dude, absolutely not. Maybe if they had me as a guest on Meat Eater, I'd try caribou eyeball fat, but not just on my own. What was that?
He's even done eating coyote,
he's eaten coyote and monkey.
Everything.
No, I'm out on some of that stuff.
Yeah, me too. I don't need to do it that bad, but
no.
If I was him, I'd definitely in his position. I mean,
if I was starving or I made that much money, sure, I'd give it a try, but I'm not going to make it part of my daily menu.
Or like Andrew Flair, like I think him and his buddy have I think it's like they've tried like raccoon and like
everything,
beaver and a bunch of
beavers. That, and so is porcupine. So they're another popular one. It's like the number one survival meat you can do is eat porcupine.
Really?
It's the only thing you can eat raw.
The things you can
eat porcupine raw. And
I've eaten raw venison before. Not like huge chunks of it, but we'll be skinning a deer, and my buddy Brad, he's the one who's known for doing all the weird stuff. Like he'll bite the duck head to kill it if he has to. I mean, he's just that guy. And so we were skinning a deer one year, and he just shaved off a piece of meat like off the back hock and just threw it in. He's like, here you go. Handed me some, and I tried it, and I was like, it just tastes bloody, like
gamey and bloody. My dad, a couple of years we were in North Dakota, and one of the young kids that was with us, my buddy's younger brother, he was like 12 at the time. And my dad was like, well, you shot your first duck, so now you got to eat the heart,
Oh no.
And dude, kids saddled right up. It was a bunch of dudes. We were all having drink cocktails in the cleaning house, cleaning all our birds and shooting the shit with the other hunters and whatnot. Yeah, we got video of it. He saddled right up and ate that entire heart raw.
Oh
And
gosh.
my dad didn't think he'd actually do it. You
Oh,
know, 'cause
yeah.
it was kind of like the old Red Dawn deal. You know, you shoot your first deer, you got to drink the blood.
Drink the blood. Yep.
Totally pulled it, and we're all like, "Yeah, I did it. You know, we all just didn't.
And not a
just
single one of you has.
Nope,
You
not
get
a single one of
12-year-old
us.
Innocent 12-year-old boy just absolutely smash it down.
dude
No.
pounded it, chewed the whole thing and swallowed it. And,
I've eaten
he's
heart
like,
before, never raw.
no, who would? But it was still funny and
Heart
now a
and
good
liver and
story.
onions.
You know, it's all
Dude.
about the stories you make.
Heart and tongue has become some of my favorite meat.
heard that
Moose
truck meat's pretty good.
tongue and moose heart. Fresh, I mean, day of, that is good stuff right there.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever actually had moose meat before.
Oh,
I've had
dude.
elk.
Moose is my favorite. Out of all the meat I've had, moose is my favorite for sure.
Really?
Oh, it's so good. And it could be that like we just worked, you know how it is when you get back from like just busting your butt. Oh, dude, I mean, the quarters on those things are 150 pounds each, at
you're
least.
carrying another human on your back.
And we only had to carry it like 300 yards, but it was still like, I mean, it was through basically a river bottom. It wasn't like super mossy or marshy, but like you still had to drop in and out of these little ravines, and it was a lot of work. So maybe the fact that I ate it right after doing a lot of work made it taste better, but I think it was just really good.
Been in your entire life.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was a good time. So we talked about this before, but share with me again. If you guys could hunt any species in any state, what would it be? And after we talk about this, we're going to get into some controversial stuff.
Are you talking waterfowl only, or just anything?
Anything.
I mean, mine would be waterfowl for sure. And I think, man, I don't know. I'm so torn between, like, I hate snow geese so much that like I have to succeed at it. But then at the same time, there's something about trafficking Canada geese that gets my rocks off for sure. I don't know. I think if I could never hunt anything again and only hunt one thing forever, it would be Canada geese, I think, for sure.
Nice. What about like a dream location? I know you guys like North Dakota. Is there a dream spot like Argentina? Like for me, for
the Canada geese, honestly, my dream location is where AJ and I live, Minnesota. In September, we have the molt migration. It's the 1 to 2 year old non-breeding geese that have all flocked together. They've summered together. They're the first ones that come down. So like in September, so when our season opens up, early goose season opens up here, September 4th, we're running early goose season hunts this year here in central Minnesota. Do have still some openings left, by the way. But on it, we call it a migrator day, and there will be a day with some north winds. And you'll just see hundreds and hundreds of Canada geese. They'll be miles high, but if you and a bunch of your buddies are pretty good on a goose call, you can trick them and you'll watch them just circle their way right down and come right into you. And honestly, I don't think that there's anything better for me. That's mine. I don't know about you.
I'm so obsessed with all of it. It's tough to choose. One thing that's really cool, and you might feel the same way if you saw videos on it or whatever, but hunting chukar in like Nevada in the mountains.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing those guys do that and their dogs, I mean, they're scaling. Those dogs are literally scaling, shale rock and pointing birds in the middle of these rocky mountain looking areas, deserts, and just some of the terrain out there. I think that would be so cool to shoot a covey bird. I want to say a covey, birds in coveys. That would be incredible. But as far as like waterfowling goes, man, the Midwest we live right in the heart of it all.
We do. Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Nope.
As far as that goes. Yeah. Chukar hunting that's a deal I'd love to do.
Chukar hunting would be sweet out in a spot like that. In fact, on our trip to Alaska, we hiked up this mountain called Kashaviroff on Kodiak Island. And we got up there and there were ptarmigan up on the mountain.
Ptarmigan are sweet. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, man, this would be the coolest spot. I mean, like you're in grizzly country, there's black-tailed deer almost in every direction you look. And our friend, she brought her husky up with on the hike, and all of a sudden it just took off running, and it was like this far away from snatching this ptarmigan. It was just like flying about 3 feet off the ground, and it chased it. We thought the dog was going to go off a cliff, but luckily it didn't. But I was like, man, that'd be really cool to have a pointing dog up here. You can see the ocean in the background. You're in like the most remote area, and just to be out here ptarmigan hunting behind a dog.
Oh, it'd be sweet. Troy, one of our main guides, Troy Austin, he actually just commented on your live feed there. And I would have completely agree with him. He said Alaska king eider ducks, and Bering Sea duck. I would be so incredible. It's been a dream of mine to do that forever and ever. Seeing that and shooting harlequins on any sea duck would be sweet. But there's nothing like that, Bering Sea and king eiders, and that's some hardcore shit. They're in 4 or 5 foot rollers and high winds, and they're just blasting.
They're not even in a layout boat.
No,
they're in a boat with a blind on it. They just
or sitting on rock island.
Or sitting on the rocks. Yeah, I was gonna say I've watched them sit on the rocks and watch the waves just roll the ducks back into them. I've hunted Lake Michigan. I've hunted on the beach of Lake Michigan. I'd say that's the closest I've been to a situation like that. But we'd be on the beach, and we'd have geese cruising up and down the beach, and we'd shoot them, and they'd roll in on the waves, same type of deal. But to be in Alaska, where like you could be in the middle of a hunt and all of a sudden there's killer whales right in front of you, like imagine
just everything. It's just that whole. It's such an extreme.
Well, it takes away everything that you know about waterfowl hunting, and the only thing that really applies is, you're just in a completely different situation. So you're like, all right, well, I'm not sitting in, I don't have spinners going. I don't have any of that. It's just completely different. You're hunting on open water. Yeah, that would be crazy.
Yeah, that would be.
I really forgot about that type of stuff.
That would be a really fun hunt. I want to waterfowl hunt Alaska so bad. Even just out on those big river flats. You can hunt all the species we do down here, but just in a much more scenic spot.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like I was telling you earlier, my buddy Matt Dahlstrom went out there with those Fouled Reality guys, and he said it was a blast.
Yeah.
And he said if you ever had the opportunity to do it, he'd do it again for sure.
Yeah. Let's talk about something controversial, because I know waterfowl guys and their gear, their clothing of choice, the shotgun they use can be hot items. I'm curious, what shotguns are you guys using?
We're both on the same page. Both, as far as Winchester shotguns for autoloaders, and we both shoot them. And I'm a big Browning and Winchester guy, no matter what. I shoot a Browning Synergy over under, 3.5 inch over under. Love it to death. And I also have a Winchester autoloader, just as he does. He has the two X4s. And guns are, I would say, less controversial than clothing is. I'll tell you that's for a fact, because like everybody and their brother loves to shoot Benelli, and I can't shoulder a Benelli, and it just doesn't fit. Browning made shotguns, or Winchester, same company, obviously.
Yep.
They fit me. No matter what Browning or Winchester I pull up, it fits.
Yep.
And they're reliable. I've been biased from it just because of that. But
funny quick side story on the guns. So me and obviously before she was my wife, we were living together, and her and her family are dropping not so subtle hints, where's my ring? When is this happening? How are we doing this? When is, like, I need to know a date and a time and all of that. So I got the permission from her dad and all of that. And I was picking her and her girlfriends up from downtown Minneapolis. I picked them up. They were just drunker than a skunk. And she's like, just giving it to me, like, where's my ring? And the next morning she wakes up and we're talking, and I'm like, all right, like, I'll make a deal with you. Like, I'll give you an engagement ring if you buy me a shotgun. And she goes, I will go out that day and buy you a gun. And I'm like, no way. Like, all right, I kind of wrote it off. Well, so we had this huge engagement party. The next morning she wakes up, she goes, all right, you ready to go? I go, what do you mean, are we ready to go? Where are we going? She goes, I'm gonna go buy your gun. I'm like, oh, you're actually gonna do this? She bought me
awesome.
She bought me I ended up deciding on the Winchester SX4 because I didn't know what I wanted. I shouldered the Benelli 3 or 4 times. at the store, because obviously you can't shoot it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of dumb. I think you should be able to test shoot a gun if you're going to buy one.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I don't know. I just chose the SX4. As far as the clothing goes, for waterfowl especially, that's definitely a hot button. You got guys that like Drake, you got guys that like banded gear, you guys, you got Sitka guys. I mean, nobody likes the Sitka zippers. We'll just say that first and foremost. There's not a single person on this earth that likes Sitka's zipper system on their bibs. They're terrible.
I'll tell you to start that conversation. In my opinion, the clothing and shit you wear, and this is a huge issue that I see across the board. People literally will completely judge you upon what you're wearing, and it should be how you hunt and what you know and your knowledge and what you practice and how you are in the field. That I should have no bearing on who's what.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. But as far as what works, I mean, I know that Sitka gear has the Gore-Tex stuff, and I think Beretta is coming out with a clothing line that has the same Gore-Tex system that Sitka does, and I think Dive Bomb is working on something very similar too. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, all of us, we like to wear Sitka gear. None of us like the zippers. Say that first and foremost. Not a fan. Fix it. But it keeps you dry. It keeps you warm. And when you're waterfowl hunting, especially, that's key.
Oh yeah.
Because you're hunting you're hunting in some of the harshest conditions. Your best opportunity to go into a field hunt and shoot your limit of ducks and your limit of geese is, it's a blizzard outside. All right, well, I'm going. I'm out.
Yep.
I'm in the field. I'm ready to go. And my dad always used to say it. It's better to be too warm than be too cold.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
you gotta be dry.
I could give a shit about what it is.
Yeah.
Totally.
See,
could give a shit about it.
that's how I am. I'm like, man, if you've got the money
or something, let me go hunt.
Dude,
I'm like, if you've got the money and you like the gear, like buy whatever you want. Me,
Absolutely.
I don't think I have a single item. I'm trying to think through all my clothing. I don't think I have a single item in all of my hunting clothing that I paid more than like $30 for. My favorite jacket that I've ever owned, I bought at a thrift store. It's a Cabela's jacket from like probably 1980 something. And it's big, it's heavy, but I throw that thing on. It could be 20 below zero. I put the hood up. I'm riding on the boat with my back to the wind, and I don't feel a single bit of breeze. And I will wear that jacket until the day I die.
Dude, I even wear some old school shit. Like Columbia has made some incredible shit.
Yeah.
Columbia's got that old school camo pattern too.
Oh, they have that. There's tons of stuff. I love Drake stuff too, and people make fun of me all the time, and I love it when people make fun of me. I do. It just fuels me.
Oh yeah.
Fuels me.
I don't get butt hurt by the gear. I'm like, hey, once we're out there and we'll see who shoots more birds, and then we can have a conversation after.
Dude, I had a guy last year when I was on with Matt. I shot a banded bird. We had one of the best buddy hunts, like a gentleman hunt ever. It was awesome. We were taking turns filming, and we were just, birds would come in, the guy on the left would shoot, and then the guy in the middle would shoot next round, and then the guy on the other end would shoot. It was just super fun. I ended up shooting a nice banded bird, and I was wearing I don't know, it was a mossy oak shadowgrass or something like that sweatshirt and my black vest and jeans, and we were in layout blinds. I've hunted geese and layout blinds, ducks, wearing that shit.
You'd be wearing an orange shirt.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. And totally was making fun of me, ripping on me for not
Talking
wearing
about Seaver?
Sitka. No, one of your old employers.
Oh, my old employer.
But I was like, yeah, I don't give a shit. I'm the one holding the banded bird here, I guess. Obviously, I didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you went to go get out of your blind to go pick up that.
Oh my God.
He
dislocated my left knee.
Yeah, he dislocated his knee getting out of the blade.
I went and got that bird with your dog out on the other end. Thought I'd walk it off. I dislocated my left knee getting out of the layout blind last year on that same
man.
And like it happened, and I was in so much pain, and I was like trying to hide it and trying to play it off. Like I wasn't some big puss out there like crying about getting out of a blind.
Yeah.
And I just like, yeah, walk it off. I walked a couple hundred yards back towards the trucks where a bird fell with his dog, and walking back, I'm like, yeah, it's not so bad. Whatever, just walk it off, act like nothing happened. No, it was not okay.
Somebody picture the next day, his knee was like the size of like a soccer ball, dude.
It was bad.
Dude, the worst injury I've ever had was hunting, and it was a knee deal too. It was terrible. I mean, I hate getting hurt. And then especially when you're doing like the thing that you love and all of a sudden you're like out of commission. I literally couldn't bend my knee for a month. I could, like, sitting on the edge of a bed, letting my feet hang, I couldn't extend it at all. Like, I'd tell my body to do it and it just wouldn't do anything. But we were teal hunting and my waders got caught in the mud. And so I was like trying to get back because we had more teal coming in. And all of a sudden, like, I just dropped down to my knee in the water and it hit the bottom and I just felt something sharp. I mean, it felt like, you know, when you get a sharp pain, like like you hit your funny bone or something like that, it almost felt like that. And I got back and I sat in the blind for the next hour and a half or maybe a couple hours. And by the time I went to stand up, I couldn't move my leg. And I was like, what in the world? And while I'm sitting there, I can feel liquid in my boot. And I thought it was water. Like, I thought when I went down, like I got water in or something. And we got back to the truck and I took my waders off, and from my knee down, it was just blood. I had to have the ambulance came. They had to call an ambulance down to this like remote boat dock.
Dude,
it was messed up. It cut all the way down to the top of my kneecap. And I had like flesh butterflying out of the cut. It cut through my waders, through a pair of coveralls, sweatpants, and long underwear.
So what was it?
No idea. It was just something at the bottom of the lake, bottom of the hole that we had busted out in the ice. It just sliced right through everything. I still have a scar. And
this was in Wisconsin?
No, it was here in Missouri.
You're lucky. Dang. You're lucky you didn't like sever a tendon or your.
Well, that's what they said. They said it was really close. The worst thing, though, the worst pain I've ever felt in my life, they took this huge needle and put it in under my kneecap in the joint. And they just pumped fluid. I mean, one after the next, they just pumped fluid through. They're like, we can't risk there being like dirt or like a rock or something that got down behind your kneecap. And oh my gosh, I've never been in that much pain.
Yikes. No thanks.
The things we do to chase after little birds that fly and land on water.
Yeah, that's a way cooler story than mine. All I did was turn out of the blind. Like, my boot was in the boot bag.
It was pathetic almost.
Matt's like, whatever. We don't know what you're trying to
do. He's like, dude, I just dislocated my knee. I'm like, shut up. No, you didn't. Like, there's geese coming. Shut up and get in your blind. Cover up. And like, just totally dismissing it. And he's like holding back tears.
Dude, it was bad.
Dude, when we recorded the last podcast, he had like
some migraine.
He had a migraine. He ended up like throwing up and like.
Oh no! Dude, you were just so nervous to talk to someone so famous.
Yeah, like that's what Matt said. I'm like, no, dude. I get in front of people with sales. Like, that's what I do for a living. I'm in front of people all the time. I love it. It fuels me. And like halfway through that podcast, dude, I was getting the sweats and I was trying to like bury it for like the full hour. I was looking at the clock, like just burying it, and burying it did not last very long.
We hung up and I look over at him and he's like dripping sweat. He's like, is it hot in here? Like, are you sweating? And I'm like, are you okay? Did you get food poisoning or something?
Dude, I was like,
oh, that's so good.
And we were at my office doing that, and he barfed all over like in the bathroom garbage can.
Oh my gosh.
I left and didn't even clean it up or anything. I just completely forgot about it.
Oh, whatever. It makes funny stories. It's all that matters.
So that like 2 duck hunting injuries. We were hunting in Colorado right away in the morning. We were getting set up, but we got out there late, and we knew that we didn't have to be like really early at this pit because we'd limit out every day, like super early. All the birds would land in it. And we're standing out there BSing as we're finishing setting up all the decoys. And all of a sudden I look up, and like our trucks are parked 30 feet from us at this point. We drove right out to the pit, and I look up and I see these ducks flying at like, I don't know, the front of the field. And so I reach down and I'm like, oh crap, where's my calls? And I turn, and I realize they're hanging on my mirror in the truck. And I turn to run, and I make it about 3 steps, and I'm just going down sideways. Like, I mean, I'm like falling. I run right into this dude, never hunted with him before, hit him in the leg. He's like, dude, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, sorry, man. I must have tripped. Got up, start running again, and I barely make it 10 feet. And all of a sudden, like, my head is so far in front of my body that like I'm not going to be able to get my feet back underneath me. Eat it again. And everyone's looking at me like, dude, are you drunk? What is wrong with you? To this day, I have no idea what was going on, but I just felt.
Were you sitting?
No, we were literally just standing up talking. Like we should have been getting in the blind.
It's one of those things where you like stand up too fast.
Well,
I've done that.
That's what it felt like. Both times I fell, it felt like I just got like super lightheaded and just off balance. But everyone's like, dude, have you been drinking? Like, did you drink last night? Or you hungover? What's going on? I'm like, no, none of the above. I did have like a bourbon seared steak at a restaurant the night before, but I was like,
I had a bourbon on the way to the field.
Yeah. I mean, I just polished off a fifth right before I got out of my truck.
You didn't have like your gun in your hand or anything, did you?
Nope, didn't have my gun. I mean, literally everything was already in the blind. We had just finished setting up, and the only thing that I still had to do was grab my calls and park the truck. And just ate it, man, twice.
That's good. You didn't have like your gun or like nobody else had theirs or anything like that. Like,
oh yeah. I typically don't sprint with my gun in hand, but I have seen people do it.
Yeah. Not a great thing to practice, but
no, definitely not.
That's why they have dogs, chase after cripples so that you don't have to.
Oh yeah. Man, that field, I wish I still had access to it because that was the best field ever. We had neighbors in the same field, except our portion of the field would have corn stubble in it still. Their portion of the field was already disked and ready for planting the next year. And they would set up in the pit. They'd have a similar size spread as us, and they wouldn't pull any birds, like none.
Oh,
they would
man.
all drop down right at us. And then we would leave around 8:30, 9 o'clock, depending on when we limited out. And a buddy that I worked with, he said he knew the guys that hunted there. And he's like, oh, dude, every day they would just wait and you guys would leave and then they'd get their limit. And I'm like, hey, at least they're shooting stuff. Because the only thing they would shoot when we were out there was cripples that, you know, like we winged and then they tried to sail over to their spread.
Sail over there, yeah.
But, well, we're already at like a minute or an hour and 15 minutes. So we can button this one up, but I appreciate you guys hopping on and chatting with me. It was a lot of fun. We're going to have to do more of these. And maybe next time what we'll do is
do it
I don't know how to
with each other.
I was going to say, I was just thinking that. I was like, I don't know how to do it, but my wife did it last night with someone she knows, and they did like the split screen on the phone or whatever. So maybe next time we'll do that. We'll go live on TikTok together. Yeah.
If you come up for a game fair, we can do it in my garage and we can have 2 bug assault guns going.
All right. As long as that Bears flag is down, I'm all about it.
I'll probably have 1 or 2 more there just for you.
Just for me. Man. That's the blanket I'm going to cover up with, right?
You better watch out. I may mistake a Chicago Bears hat for a high point outfitter.
That would go viral on my TikTok if I burned one of those.
I have one that you can burn. It's like 20 years old.
Nice. Well, hey, thanks again for being on the show. I definitely had a good time, and I think people are gonna
thanks for having us on.
Good luck on this upcoming waterfowl season. Hopefully you guys get like booked out, and as you pass through Missouri, maybe we'll meet up then too.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
For sure.